In episode 1, we talked about the 3 parts of a story: character, plot, and setting. Now for episode 1.1, we're going to put a little bit of practice into this. So, to do so, I've brought Apples to Apples cards. Try to find your writing experience wherever you possibly can, and this is a pretty good one. If you haven't played Apples to Apples, it's a card matching game. You can check out some of my reviews on blogcritics.org. I really like board games and get really into it. But for now, we're going to talk about stories. We've got 3 different piles, and I've got several different items in each one, and we're going to come up with a little improvised story based on the 3 parts. So, for our character, we have Jack the Ripper. Usually an antagonist, the guy who's wandering around killing people. And now he's going to be our protagonist. This could be kind of an anti-hero maybe, or maybe it's a really dark story. We want this evil person to succeed. Jack the Ripper desperately needs, so part of his plot, this is the goal that he is going to be pursuing as he's doing his ripping. He needs money. Well, I mean, all the surgical tools are expensive. Maybe that's why he's going after ladies of the night. They're going to have some cash on them anyway. So, he desperately needs money, Jack the Ripper. And our setting is going to be the 1980s. So it's kind of already a movie involving H.G. Wells and time travel and Jack the Ripper. This would be probably a short story, maybe something a little bit longer. We could even make it an entire novel. So Jack the Ripper blasted into this future time, doesn't understand it, doesn't know where he is, but we can take an idea that Jack the Ripper is a very calm, collected, intelligent person. Somebody who's going to commit all these murders and get away with it's probably that. So we got Jack the Ripper, and as the story question, how is he going to get money? We could assume that Jack the Ripper was a very wealthy person back in the Victorian era, so now he's got to somehow conquer the 1980s. He's ruthless, perhaps even ruthlesser than an American Psycho. This sounds like a pretty cool story. I'd actually like to read this. Somebody out there, give it a write. Once you've got your character, plot, and setting in mind, you can use the worksheet below. It will give you tips on how to dig deep and to define a lot about this character. Really get your story in mind. As you're looking into creating your story, you might first start with the setting. What's the place, the time, the weather, the technology, the fashion, everything you could describe about it. What's the political system like? Then define your character. Is it male, female, or something else like a brave little toaster? What's this character's stature? Tall, short, round, skinny, whatever you like best. What's the character's occupation, upbringing, background, skills, beliefs? Everything about this character. Really see where this character has come from. See where you want them to be going. What's their goals? You can also look at the plot, stemming from this character's goal, whether it's positive or negative. Maybe this character's running away from some zombies, or maybe the character's running to some zombies, capture them, experiment on their zombie brains. Or maybe it's something on a wider scale. Maybe it's an environmental problem. Cinderella wants to get out of the situation that she's in with her evil stepmother. Or it's a social issue. Maybe they want to overthrow the entire government, she and her step-siblings. I'd read that story. Once you have the plot in mind, write a story question using this plot. This will give you something to look at every step of your story. If you're ever off track, you're not answering the story question. As you have your story question, see what you can do to raise the stakes. Going back to Cinderella, it'd be one thing if she just went to the ball and met the prince. But when her evil stepsisters tear apart the gown that she has stitched together from scraps, that's a huge issue. Now she's got an entire new problem of not having anything to wear to this ball. It does introduce us pretty later on to the fairy godmother, which is a whole nother story. And we'll talk about that as we get into more setting. But it makes the story more interesting. See what you can do to raise the stakes. That's it for episode 1.1. Join us in episode 2, where we talk more in depth about characters. I'm Jeff Provine, and writers keep writing.